Hello and welcome to this live panel discussion for the postgraduate programmes based in the cultural industries subject group. So we'll be hearing a little bit from the three different postgraduate degree programmes that we offer, and then we'll be hearing, most importantly, from a selection of students on studying with us on the programmes. To represent the MSc in Media Management, we have Dr Lynn Whitaker, myself from the MSc in Creative Industries and Cultural Policy, and Dr Robin Stedman from the Global Cultural Enterprise programme, which is newly launched next year, so we can hear a little bit about that in a moment. We'll be very keen to answer any kind of queries or questions that you have about postgraduate life at the University of Glasgow within the School of Cultural and Creative Arts, and we can do that from the perspective of our brilliant students who've joined us here today and made the time during their very busy beginning of the dissertation period to speak with us today. So we're really grateful to them from that. We're going to begin with some quick introductions so that you know who we all are and the different programmes that we're representing. And then we'll move straight away into a bit of a discussion about the experience of the programmes, what it's like to live and study in Glasgow, some of the kind of skills development and employability aspects of the programmes, and then opening the floor really for a selection of questions from you and perhaps some points of discussion that our students want to raise as well. So my name is Dr Katherine Champion. I lead the programme in the MSc in Creative Industries and Cultural Policy. My particular research interests are around the cultural industries and place. So I lead some of the core modules on the programme around creative industries and cultural policy. I also lead options modules in cultural cities and creative regions, which is very close to my interests in place-based cultural regeneration. And at the moment, as with my colleagues here, also supervising dissertations, which is probably one of my favourite parts of the year. And when, as you'll hear about, it's when you get to develop your own autonomous research project around the things that you're particularly interested in. I'm going to hand over first to my colleague, Dr Lynn Whitaker, to introduce herself and the Media Management programme.
Good morning to you. It's really a pleasure to be here representing the Media Management MSc. And I think one of the useful things about this morning is it will maybe be a chance for you to kind of develop the kind of distinction between the programmes, a little bit more granularity as to why students may choose one programme over another. It's a difficult choice, particularly as we now have a third PGT offering on board. So I'm responsible for the research methods courses within the Media Management MSc. And these are really the building blocks to prepare you for dissertation, because I'm also the dissertation convener, and that's a big chunk of the degree. It's worth 60 credits, so it's effectively a third of the degree is the independent unit of study, the dissertation. So as Katherine said, also my favourite time of year, we get to work one-to-one supervising students. We have a huge supervisory team because these are big programmes, and we ensure that you get that individual attention and supervision that you need during the dissertation period. So I'm going to hand you over now to Robin, and we're waiting with bated breath because this programme is being launched and new to us all.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Lynn. I'm Dr. Robin Stedman, and I'm part of the team that developed and will teach on the new Global Cultural Enterprise MSc. And so a little bit about me as a researcher, my area of focus is on creative industries in Africa, the kind of hands-on study of entrepreneurship and the way different enterprises work, from large corporations all the way to individual creative workers who are in a DIY, freelancing, kind of self-enterprising mode of work. And so a lot of those interests, of course, align with the new program in Global Cultural Enterprise, which we're excited to launch, which is very much focused around understanding how enterprises work to enable students to kind of go out and kind of either work in these enterprises, perhaps start their own, but really from a global perspective of the many different kind of careers and enterprises that exist in the cultural industries broadly. We'll draw from cases all over the world and do a lot of kind of hands-on industry-connected teaching and learning. So we're excited to get started with the program.
Amazing. Thank you, Robin. If I can also now turn to getting our student volunteers to introduce themselves as well. And I'll just go in the order that's on my screen. So Johanna, if I could ask you to introduce yourself, that would be fantastic.
Hi, my name is Joanna Yavashila. I am doing the creative industries and cultural policy course. And my background before this is I actually studied at the University of Glasgow before this as well. And I did a joint honors course in English literature and film and television studies. And I think I really enjoy that, which made me want to stay here for my master's.
Thank you so much, Johanna. I'm so glad that we've been able to hang on to you and entice you on into master's study. Going in the order of my screen, Chun Hoi, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, morning. I'm Chun Hoi. I'm currently studying Media Management MSc. So back in my undergraduate time, I completed my degree in sociology. So where I developed a strong understanding of human behavior and social structure. So this naturally led me to pursue this media management program. And I feel it's quite interesting to live in a country that totally different from where I have been last time. So it's really a good experience. I think it's really a best time of my life. I can say that. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's brilliant to hear. And I think it's really interesting as well to hear about the different disciplinary backgrounds that you all come from, and the different experiences that you've had before you joined the program, because we do have a real wide diversity of students in terms of what people have studied before they get to our programs as well. Ollie, could I turn to you?
Hi, yes. My name is Ollie. I studied at the University of Glasgow for my undergraduate as well, like Joanna. I did film and television joint honours with digital media and information studies. And that was a really great kind of stepping stone onto the media management MSc. There was a lot of crossover, particularly with the digital media side of my undergraduate degree. Yeah, I just really enjoyed that. I enjoyed being in the city and I wanted to stay and get a master's degree. So that's why I'm here. And I've been really enjoying the degree so far, and I'm very excited to crack on with the dissertation element, because I get to really focus on what I'm interested in.
Fantastic. And I hope we might get to hear a little bit. I mean, I know it's sometimes a daunting question to ask about the dissertation projects at this stage, because they're often still evolving and changing, but we might get a little taster to hear what you guys are focusing on for the projects, perhaps during this discussion. Roshni, could I turn to you now?
Hi, I'm Roshni. I'm from India, and I'm also in the Creative Industries and Cultural Policy program. So my background before this is a mixture of finance and design. And then my work experience tended towards graphic design more specifically. And now I'm here to look at sort of broader industry perspectives and look at issues that are affecting graphic design as a field.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Roshni. I know myself from our discussions during the program how much you've brought that past experience into into your discussions through seminars and so on. So I think, again, it's perhaps we'll hear a little bit about the value of kind of learning from each other's different perspectives and the experiences that we bring. I'm going to hand over to Lynn now, who's going to just ask a few questions around the experiences of the course.
Yeah, I thought a useful way to do this might be to think about the core courses, first of all, within the programs, and then maybe broadening it out to thinking about the options, the elective modules that you chose. So I think I'll start with my own students. And Junhoi, do you want to speak a little bit about the core courses? Maybe you want to speak about semester 1. It seems a long time ago. And Ollie, you could speak about semester 2, perhaps.
Yeah, so we have 2 core courses that is on media economic, and that's in semester 1, and in semester 2 we have the media policy, and both of them worth quite a heavy weightage in the academic point. And particularly I feel it's quite stressed to study the first semester courses, because I just came to UK, and based on communication and study, I find it quite hard for me. But after that, and semester 2, I start to get used to the pace of the professors, and during the discussions in seminars, I will start to stand out and try to answer a lot of questions. And I find it is quite interesting to study the media policy, because it is actually match what I have studied in undergraduate. So I tried to do the same topic in my dissertation for the media policy program as well.
So then, that's yeah. You're spoken about those 2 core courses that are part of the cultural industry subject area. We've got media economics, and we've got media and cultural policy in semester 2. But there's also the business, the core courses that are in the business school. I don't know, maybe Ollie, do you want to speak about those? Because they're such an integral part of the degree that I think help to make the media management program distinct.
Yes, so as part of the degree, you do 2 courses from the business school, marketing management and managing strategic change. That was in semester 1. And it was quite, it was almost like a crash course on marketing sort of elements and the basics of marketing for those who have maybe studied it before, but also for those who've never done it before. So it's accessible for everyone. So if you have no background in that, you will be able to complete the course with no issue. It is a lot week after week though for those, because it's a lot of information, but I found it was very rewarding. And it was nice because it added another layer to the degree, another perspective. And I remember, I think it was the marketing management lecture describing it as a kind of asset for when you go into a job, to have knowledge about marketing, knowledge about strategic change, not necessarily needing that for the job you're doing, but enabling you to kind of have the lingo to talk with the marketing team, and enabling you to have the skills to manage a team if you end up in a management position. So I thought that was really useful and a great thing to be able to talk about, especially in job interviews, that you've done, courses like that.
I think that also reflects the fact that these degree programs, we spoke about how diverse backgrounds come to the degrees, but the degrees themselves also are interdisciplinary in nature. So they sit within the College of Arts, but we draw on sort of research methods and techniques that come from different areas, different sort of disciplines and approaches. So, Katherine, do you want to lead with your own students as to sort of content and courses, you're best placed to know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe I could turn to Roshni, and either we follow a similar structure to the media management program in terms of having core courses that you will take that are compulsory, and as Chun Hoy mentioned, are a substantial part of your grade as you get to the end. So a really, quite intensive introductions to creative industries and cultural policy. And then we also have modules from the Adam Smith Business School as well to make up, as Lynn says, bringing in those different perspectives from different disciplines. And as we move into semester 2, that is where you can select from different options modules to begin to craft a more sort of individual approach to the program, and to take on things that perhaps have most interest to you. I'd say within the core modules, there's also a bit of opportunity to do that. We have quite a lot of assessments, for example, that ask you to develop your own case studies or to focus in on particular areas. So there are chances to develop that specialisation from quite early on, but the actual options modules come in semester 2. But I will let Roshni perhaps speak to your experience of perhaps undertaking those modules, or perhaps how you made the decisions to craft the options modules that you did, or make those kind of choices around specialization.
Yeah, so we've got core courses around creative industries and cultural policy, naturally. And then, of course, we've got connections to the Adam Smith Business School through a course on project management and a course on managing creativity and innovation. And then for the electives, there's a huge bunch of choices. And personally, I selected intellectual property law. And so from that hodgepodge, you can kind of see that there's quite a breadth you can cover in terms of where you want to go as a professional within the cultural industries. And the core courses really give you a broad idea of just how much the cultural industries encompasses, which is really useful because coming into this course, a lot of us have really diverse but also really specific backgrounds. And we might not be aware of what's happening in the other creative industries, or how that pertains to government action or legislation or anything like that. And so I think it broadens your perspectives in general, but also through the business school courses, equips you to then go back out into the real world and, take on any kind of role within a creative organization and just boost culture.
Fantastic. That's so that's such interesting reflections. Thank you, Roshni. Johanna, I mean, really just asking the same kind of question. How did you find that sort of experience of the kind of breadth of certain aspects and the specialization in others?
I can definitely speak to that. I think one thing that I've always known about myself is I would like to study everything. So I find it hard to choose one. Or choose an elective, but I ended up going with the cultural institutions elective. And what I will say is that no matter which elective you choose, I think there is a sense of drawing on all of these different themes and topics into your assessments. And so even when you're speaking about cultural institutions, you can always draw on intellectual property or all these other things. So it's not limiting in any way. Personally, I think I loved it. I loved my elective. I think especially it was quite interesting to do the cultural institutions because we were talking a lot about specific example institutions within Glasgow. So I found it quite nice to contextualize it. to specific places, and we even had a little field trip where we went to visit the Glasgow Women's Library in Glasgow, obviously. And so, yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And I think the core courses, although they are quite like heavy and intensive, I think that's needed because there's just so much to go through. And I think you can, as a student with like specific interest, you can kind of pick and choose what you want to dig deeper into. And so, yeah, I don't have any complaints. I think it was great.
Thank you so much, Johanna. And I think, yeah, that's often a favourite. I think the field trip to the Glasgow Women's Library, because it's such an amazing place. And certainly, even if you're not taking that module, we'd certainly encourage you to have a visit there and some of the cultural institutions in Glasgow. And we'll turn to speaking about your experiences of Glasgow in a moment. But I just wanted to bring in Robin just for a moment to we obviously don't have any students from the new programme, but perhaps you might be able to say something to the kinds of that sort of question of the breadth that students might expect to study across the programme, and perhaps where they might be able to specialise as well if they take up the new programme.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, absolutely. It's the same. I think same kind of thing, that there's a lot of kind of breadth in the program, but also opportunities to specialize in what you're really interested in. And also to bring in your own experiences in your career and interests. For example, in a lot of creative assessment that we'll do, we'll see a lot of kind of enterprises or activities happening in Glasgow to really embed the degree in the city, but also will really encourage students to draw on their experiences of their own backgrounds, whether it's in sociology or graphic design, and to think what is it that you want to go and do. Can you in an assessment where you have to make a project pitch, could it be something that you might then go on to use in your specific interests, say in graphic design, for example, to really allow students to draw on, rigorous academic curriculum, understanding enterprise in the cultural sector, but also to tailor that exactly to our to specific interests, which will also happen, of course, in the independent projects that students would do, where they'll get kind of really close supervision to really, tailor the program to what they want.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
Thank you, Robin.
I think it would be worthwhile. We spoke a little bit there about kind of the idea of field trip, but another really core component, certainly on the media management programme, is the idea of having industry speakers, having guest speakers that are actually practitioners and key stakeholders within the field and within industry. So I didn't know if our students wanted to speak maybe about a kind of perhaps their favorite experience of that, or also we covered some of the electives that are on offer. You might want to speak about what Joanna spoke about, how difficult it is to choose. So it might be worthwhile you reflecting on the elective that you chose. Ollie, did you want to input on that?
Sure, I can talk about the guest speakers, because for me that was like the main highlight, honestly, of a lot of the degree, was each week being able to interact with somebody from a different sector. So what stuck out to me the most was we had a guest speaker from The National, which is a Scottish newspaper, and I really am a big fan of them. So it was actually really nice to be able to speak to the editor of The National and get a lecture from her. It was great. It was just very, even though I'm not somebody who wants to go into journalism or print media, it gave me a perspective that I otherwise wouldn't have had. And in addition to that, I did also get to speak to people that are involved in areas that I am interested in, like broadcasting and media regulation. So I managed to grab hold of a speaker from Ofcom at the end of her lecture, and I'm kind of emailing with her right now, which is great. So it's a good opportunity to network as well. And she's put me in contact with people that are actually going to be quite useful for my dissertation. So that was great. We also got speakers from the BBC. So again, I'm interested in broadcasting. So that was really useful to me. But yeah, it's also great if, a speaker comes from an industry where you're not particularly interested, because you get that perspective you wouldn't have had. So very useful.
Okay. Chun Hoi, if you want to reflect on either guest speakers or your personal choice of electives and what drew you to that, what you feel you've gained.
For my personal elective, I chose the creative and culture the program. So I every morning sometimes they will invite a guest speaker to come and speak to us, and I find there's one particular lecture that I was quite the seminar that was quite interested, because they show us a video of how how creative industry has been developed in Glasgow, and it was quite interesting for me to because I have never seen the development of Glasgow before, and the lecturer has just actually show us the whole around a 5-minute video on that, and I find it's quite useful for me to draft my essays and like gain a lot of insight in this city itself. Yeah, so it's really a brilliant choice for me to choose this elective. Yeah.
And what made you choose Glasgow as a destination for your master's studies?
So previously I was studying in Singapore, so I've attended this postgraduate student fair in Singapore, and I was approached by an ambassador from University of Glasgow, and I was impressed by how supportive they were, and I feel like adapting to this UK environment, it should be quite fun for me. So after I have gained some insight in this course, and I find it's quite related to my previous program, and so that's why I choose this place to go and study. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic. I wonder if I could perhaps pick up similar questions with Johanna and Roshni. Firstly, I guess around Johanna mentioned the field trip to the Glasgow Women's Library. But perhaps that question around guest lectures, field trips, or that sort of specialisation that you've been able to have. Johanna, do you want to pick that up?
Yeah, of course. As you were talking about like guest lectures in media management, I was trying to remember. I'm really bad with names, so I almost can't remember the people who came. But to reiterate, we did have, so in our core course, in the first semester especially, we had like almost every week there was a different person from a different sector coming to talk to us about kind of their experience, whether it was like an independent artist or like previous, I think it was the previous director of, what was it, the Creative Scotland.
Yeah, so the former director of creative industries at Creative Scotland, so Clive Gilman, came in quite early on in semester 1. Yeah.
Yes, and so like we had so many different people, and in my elective as well, we had a couple people come in. There was one person who specifically came in to talk about like festival circuit, because festivals are quite big in Scotland and there's a lot in Glasgow, and so yeah, it was just I thought it was really useful, and the fact that after the lectures we could go up to that person and like ask them specific questions, or they would always leave their like email behind if you wanted to email them directly with questions or thoughts, and so I found that extremely useful, but also to hear as well about their personal background, because I tried to like see them as like try to see myself in these people, because we're all kind of looking to what are we going to do after this. So it was really interesting to hear about their personal background and how, like, what did they study, where did they study, how did they get onto the next position, and then what are they doing now. And everyone was just so friendly. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Johanna. And I think, I mean, it's really true, I think, of those guest speakers where they come in, they're very open, and it's often quite a reflective time for them where they do think about, you know, they do give a little bit of a kind of introduction to their own biography and where they've come from and the different things that they've been working in. So it's interesting to see so many different trajectories of where people begin and how they've got to their current positions and their specializations. Roshni, do you want to speak at all to your experiences of those aspects?
For sure. So adding on to what Joanna said, there's also a real wealth of just academic figures as well. I think we're quite privileged to have lecturers from what I sort of view as micro celebrities within the academic field that we're in. And so for anybody considering a career in academia in this specific field, I think this course and the University of Glasgow has just great access to people who are really influential, and the fact that you can just walk up to them and have a casual conversation really changes that dynamic as well, and makes you feel like your career trajectory is a lot more possible and realistic. So I found that particularly useful. And in terms of the guest lecturers as well, there's a huge range of sectors that are represented from the cultural industries. And you get a real perspective of how each sector has specific issues, but also specific achievements. And I think there's a balanced view of what's working and what's not that really tells you where you can fit in once you go out into the real world.
Fantastic. It's really useful to hear that. And I think, yeah, we do certainly try, and because of so much of, particularly in creative industries and cultural policy, because we look at creative labour quite a lot, we're very cognizant of the kinds of issues that the sector faces in terms of some of the precarity of work and some of the labour issues. So I think we do try and give an academic introduction to that, but also reflect on what you should expect and what you should not put up with in the world of work as well. Roshni, I'm just going to turn back to you straight away. We've heard little snippets from people about their experiences of kind of living and studying in Glasgow. I was just wondering if you wanted to say anything about, you know, how you chose Glasgow, what your experiences were when you first moved to the city, whether there's any particular things that you've kind of enjoyed, or any advice, I guess, that you give to anyone moving to the city.
Yeah, so when I was choosing where to do my master's, I was initially thinking along the lines of a typical design career trajectory, you know, looking at the top design schools, you know, UAL, RCA, all of those. But then I came across this program, which was quite a different view altogether, quite a different way to look beyond just doing design as a skill, but more of an industry perspective and a little higher level. And so that's what the appeal was for this course specifically. And then Glasgow as a city, coming from India, which is, as everybody knows, really hot. My reasons are a little superficial, but I really like colder, cloudier places. So you know, people love to complain about the rain, but I love it. And it's just a really beautiful place. The university itself, being as old as it is just stunning. And, you know, I think like being in a beautiful place and doing a course that could be challenging, I think really complement each other, because you have something to look forward to even when you are feeling like the course is really testing you. So the place makes it a real pleasure to just do the more difficult parts of the course as well. And of course, Glasgow is just a really culturally rich city, and everybody is super friendly. I've literally not had a single unfriendly interaction since I've been here, so I really enjoy that part of Glasgow as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Roshni. Johanna, I'll just briefly turn to you, and then I'll let other students come in as well. I know that you've chosen to remain in Glasgow and stay on. And I know that you're very sort of active in the kind of cultural, in taking up the cultural life of the city, but I don't know if you just wanted to say anything about, what it's like in Glasgow and what some of those cultural opportunities are, perhaps for someone who doesn't know the city at all.
Yeah. So there's so much to do in Glasgow. I moved here. I was very unlucky to move here in September 2020. So I was the first sort of year that started within the pandemic. And so I've just really seen the city bloom back up after the pandemic. And so there's just been so much. I mean, there's so many venues to visit. If you like music, there's constantly things happening, whether it's small concerts, independent artists, or bigger artists coming to the city. Recently I found out that I didn't know this existed, but this idea of musical jams where people gather at a venue and just play different instruments and jam off each other's tunes. My flatmate introduced me to this, and I don't play any instruments, but I thought it was fascinating. And so I think for new students or students wanting to come to Glasgow, I would say treat everyone around you as your tour guide, even lecturers. Just ask them for tips on what to do. Your flatmates, people who have lived in the city for longer, because there's just so much to do. It's really hard to pinpoint a single thing or a single place to go. But I think that's really good. There's personally, I write a lot of poetry, so I like going to open mics. And there's at least 5 different ones that I know of at different places. And yeah, it's just my experience overall has been just so nice and sweet. And I'm never scared of just showing up, even if I've never been to an event. If it's a running event every month, you'll just show up, and there's always going to be new people who also just discovered it, even if they've lived in the city for 20 years. So yeah, I don't know if I answered that question. I think
absolutely. I was just thinking, I'm just taking notes here because I've also come across a music jam before and feel like I need to address that omission from my cultural life. But I think, that sense of just there is so much going on all of the time that we could never possibly hope to do everything. But hopefully that means that there is something for everyone as well.
I would also like to say just one more thing.
Yeah,
I think if you don't necessarily have anyone around you that you can ask directly for these tips, if you do move here, magazines like The Skinny comes out every month here, and it's a local magazine, or not local. They do talk about Scotland in general, but there's mostly things happening in Glasgow and Edinburgh, and it's just full of recommendations. Anything that you would like to do, and they cover the different areas, so they'll be music, film, art, and all sorts of things that you can think of, and that comes out monthly. So yeah, even if you're just on your own and you're looking for something to do, that could be fun.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip as well. And we can't keep track of everything, but we do try and share things if we think there are particular festivals or events coming up that our students might be interested in. We try and circulate some information. But yeah, there's so much going on all the time. Junhoi, you've mentioned a little bit about your experience of kind of moving to the city, but I wondered if you wanted to perhaps share what you've enjoyed about, you've said how much you've enjoyed being in Glasgow. Perhaps if you wanted to say a little bit more about that, or what you would, any tips that you'd give to people who were moving here newly, sort of in the same position as you, but next September.
Yeah, sure. So for me, I find that is for new students come to Glasgow, like from a place that less winter or like less cold in Glasgow. I would suggest them to give more time to adjust to this place, and especially when it's to the weather, or like to the times whereby I only left a few only left a few hours daylight. For example, when I first come to Glasgow, I find that it's quite stress for me to deal with the time, like where it's 4 p.m. it's already dark, and I have to stay at home, and I will lose my 40 clock and all. So it's a very different pace of life that I will first get. And I find it's important to make use of the public transport in Glasgow, because it's quite convenient to get around the city and nearby area. I will recommend exploring the city when they can, because it helps us to feel more settled inside. And the Glasgow subway is very small, and it's very cute, and I find it. Yeah, so I think really just don't hesitate to talk to people and just get involved into the university area, because everybody is I find it's too friendly, and it's very friendly to guys. Because back from where I come from, maybe if you talk to strangers on the street, they will just don't give a they just don't react to us. But in Glasgow, and whenever you talk to anybody on the street, they just treat us like friends, and I find it's really fascinating to talk to people in Glasgow. So just don't feel scared to talk to anybody, and I will find it easiest to improve your language and improve your status and settled in this country and this city, I find. Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, it's really good to hear that, and it's really good to hear that the experience has been of such a friendly city as well. And just I'm just struck as well by how great it is that you've all come here and then just explored and thrown yourself into life in the city, which I think is absolutely the way to go around a postgraduate program when you only have 1 year, just to take up all the opportunities. I think is brilliant. Ollie, maybe I could just turn to you, because you've obviously studied in the city before, like Johanna, but wanted to stay on in the city. But would you have any particular sort of tips or kind of favorite experiences or places, or anything that you'd want to pass on to a student perhaps thinking about coming to Glasgow or intending to move here in September?
So there, as creative industry students, there's a really great museum scene in Glasgow. My favorite is the Burrell collection, and a day out for me that's great is to walk around a park and visit a museum. That's the kind of person I am. And so, Kelvin Grove Park is right there. Kelvin Grove Art Gallery is right there. The Burrell collection is right off of Pollock Park, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's great if you're the kind of person that likes, obviously the panel has talked about, music and events, but if you're the kind of person that likes a bit of a slower pace, there's also really great opportunities for that. Great parks in Glasgow, great museums with really interesting collections.
And free.
And free, that's so right.
Yeah. That's
exactly. And the Hunterian as well, and the university itself is also a really great museum. So I think that, I'd imagine that most people that would be applying for a cultural industries course would have some level of interest in that. So if you do, this is a great city to be in.
Fantastic. That's brilliant, Ollie. And I would say as well, at the moment, I visited the Burrell collection a few weeks ago, and there are baby Highland coos in the field next to the collection there. So that is worth the trip on its own as well. I'm going to hand back to Lynn. And I think maybe a few questions around employability.
Well, I think maybe we'll give our students a little chance to speak about dissertation and about how,
that's a great idea,
because that is a bridge forward. Sometimes students will even use their master's dissertation as a kind of calling card for future employers if they want to see a sample of work, for example, so I'd really be keen to know kind of what our students are studying and sort of where it fits from the programme, how it kind of grew out of the programme, and maybe where it's leading to next. If you're thinking about, you know, life beyond the degree. So Ollie, did you want to say a little bit about that? I'll come back at you.
Sure. So I kind of honestly for a long time didn't really know what my interest specifically was. I just knew I was very interested in the media and broadcasting. And so it was really only in the past couple of years that I got really kind of in touch with the cultural heritage of Scotland. And I got really interested in Gaelic language. And so I thought, how can I combine my interest in Gaelic language with the studies that I'm doing? And so for me, that was in the dissertation. And I'm going to be looking at studying the BBC Alba, the structure of BBC Alba, which is the Scottish Gaelic language broadcaster. And I'm going to be doing an analysis on how they are structured, and also looking at specific case study. And so that was kind of an example of me being able to combine like my personal interests with my studies. And I'm really excited to delve into that a bit more.
And what do you think the future holds?
I'm hoping that I can go into a job that there's a lot of jobs that go for people who are interested in Gaelic and who are learning Gaelic, because there's an incentive to revitalize the language, and there's a lot of Gaelic media jobs. So I'm hoping that I get proficient enough that my degree and then my knowledge of the language can kind of combine, and I could go into a job with the BBC Alba perhaps. But there are also other Gaelic bodies like and also other creative bodies like Creative Scotland and Screen Scotland that are also involved with producing Gaelic content. So there's a lot of areas I could go with that. But yeah, even if you don't 100% know what you would like to do, there's always a way that you can combine your kind of personal interest with your research. And so I hope that
I love the way that you're explaining that as being in some ways kind of happenstance, how you arrived at it, but actually strategically you've chosen a topic that's really going to sort of develop skills and make you a useful proposition for future employment within that particular part of industry. And Chun Hoi, I know that you also, with your dissertation topic, have been quite strategic, shall we say?
Yeah, but I'm quite different from Ollie because I have really no clue when I started the program. I don't really have a direction when I started the program to do the dissertation topics. But after the research 1 and research method 1 and research method 2 module, I studied quite a few models, and I start to grow the interest in the media policy model. So I decided my dissertation topics to be on the media policy model, and I adapted to examining how there's a online safety bill that's just recently introduced in Singapore. So I was thinking to study the online safety bill, and I want to know how people interpret the policy. So I find that it's quite useful for me next time when I step into the working society, because I realize that there's a gaps in understanding how the user really feels about the systems, and maybe I can bring that back to my country, or like helps different kind of places to develop a better, or like improve different kind of systems. So I find I will try to gain some insight in this dissertation.
Yeah, so mostly students do projects that are based on, within media management, that are based within media industries and frameworks, policy, regulation, developments within their own home territory or country. So it's just to kind of connect that you're here in Glasgow studying this great programme, but pushing through, thinking of, well, how can I apply those skills? How can I? So most students do choose to centre their dissertation project, something that they're passionate about, and something that is connected usually to their own media environment that they've come from. I'm not sure if it's the same in creative industries and cultural policy. Roshni, did you want to speak about that? About your dissertation project?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for my dissertation, I'm going to be studying the use of proprietary design software within the graphic design industry in the UK, and how that relates to access and affordability, and so how it ties to fair work and creative justice more broadly. And for me, personally, at the beginning of the program, I sort of knew that I wanted to do something that had to do with graphic design and sort of uplifting graphic designers as an industry, as a collective. And then going through the program, I discovered that there's a real dearth of academic literature specifically around graphic design, and just all of the influences that lots of factors, socioeconomic factors have on graphic design, not just in the UK, but just broadly, even back home in India. And then also through my choice of elective of intellectual property law, I was introduced to sort of socio-legal studies. And so all of that combined to me being really keen on a career within academia, but focus on design and the design industry, designers as creative workers, that sort of thing. So that's hopefully where I'm headed.
Great. So the passion and engagement is evident. Joanna, did you want to speak a little bit about your project?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I kind of decided really early on what I wanted to do for my dissertation. And I'm sort of looking at the creative lives of independent visual artists, and sort of the temporalities of using social media as like a marketing tool, which kind of goes into media management as well, now that I think about it. But one thing that I wanted to mention that's kind of not related to my dissertation, but it's more to do with like opportunities, because I decided really early on what I wanted to do with my dissertation, but then after a while, as the course went on, I realized I was really interested in libraries. And so I did this as for like students that are coming in, so that they know there's a lot of opportunities to get involved with the university beyond your course. And so I did this library associate scheme with the University of Glasgow Library, where I got to go behind the scenes and kind of learn a bit about how the institution functions, everything from budgets to the different the conversations happening between different teams and so on. And I was specifically really interested in the kind of the the cataloging aspect of libraries and data and document management, all these things, which kind of got me to then applying to some internships that came up that had to do with library or archives. And then also within my elective cultural institutions, we did a whole week on libraries. So I'm just like, it goes to show that there's like lots of these like connections that you can make between what you're doing and what you're studying, and then the opportunities that are coming up. And I know as master's students, we don't necessarily have that much time outside of our course, but there are some ways in which you can still get involved and build on these connections, whether through like volunteering or things like what I just mentioned. So yeah, not so much about my dissertation, but I think about opportunities overall.
I think it's fantastic to hear about those kind of opportunities, and we do try and flag up as many as we can at the start of the semester. So there's always so much more within the university. So you do get, if you're proactive and look out for the things that come around in wider university emails and schemes, then again, these are ways to kind of satisfy different things that you're interested in over the course of a year. And as Johanna says, it is challenging to balance all of these things, but we are here to support you to do that as well. I think the chat is going to close imminently, and we don't have any questions at the moment. I would say if anyone's watching and they do want to add a question, please do it now. If you aren't able to add a question today, or if you're catching up on this, I'd also say please do get in touch with us if you're interested in any of the 3 programs, or you are also offer holders that want to have a one-to-one conversation with us after today. We're very happy to facilitate that and provide any further information that you might need. I guess what we could just do now is just see if anyone else would like to add anything else around their experiences of the program, and perhaps things that you've particularly enjoyed, or the kind of recommendations for students joining in September.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in with just some closing thoughts. So being from India, I'm really directing this at people from India who are interested in coming here, because I know there's always going to be a huge proportion of interested people from India. And I just want to let it be known that this is a great place for anybody coming from India, but worried about maybe having a support group, having community, having that sense of home. You really don't miss it. There's a huge Indian community. You'll always feel supported. And literally, like, first couple of days in Glasgow, I was already helped by just local Indian or even Pakistani and Bangladeshi people, our neighbors. And everybody just really makes you feel at home really quickly. So that's a huge plus. And then also one thing that I feel like unrelated to that really never gets brought up, Glasgow has a lot of hills. So if you have like less than optimal lung capacity, just keep that in mind, because I think that was a real surprise for me. I hear this a lot about Edinburgh, but Glasgow equally, especially if you plan to do a lot of walking, to access public transport, things like that. I think really be prepared to grapple with that, along with the cold and the rain. So those are my closing thoughts.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Moshi. We definitely do have a lot of hills. It means you get some very nice views from the top of campus out over the city, but you do have to get up there first and go in between lectures that are often downhill as well. But yeah.
Also very like cycling friendly.
Yeah, I think particularly in the last few years as well, there's been a huge investment in cycling infrastructure. So there are now electric bikes as well, which you can hire and get around the city from different points. There's different points on campus where you can pick those up. and places like the canals and things have been opened up and made a lot kind of safer in recent years to travel about the city as well. So yeah, if you're a cycling enthusiast, that is an option too. Chun-Hoi or Ollie, do you have any last things that you'd like to share?
I would like to share that Glasgow also has a really great food scene. So as well as like all the other things that we've mentioned to do, if you're a foodie, it's a great place to be, and lots of different types of food as well, because there's such a good cultural mix in backgrounds here. Like you can try everything and everything is really good, and that's always a bonus.
Fantastic. And I think there's lots of good sort of Instagram accounts of different sort of food influencers and lots of different places you can try, and that can fuel getting up the hills and riding your bike as well. Chun-Hoi, is there anything else you want to share as a kind of last word?
I think if you like to cook, I think please don't miss the price reduction when you went in the supermarket. I always go to get a cheap price of meat or like vegetable when it's near the 6 to 7 p.m. in the Morrisons or like Sainsbury's. Please don't miss the promotions. I find it's very, very nice very nice to purchase that.
Love it.
Fantastic. These are great tips. I'm writing down everything here as well. I mean, I've learned a lot myself, so I hope all of you watching have learned a lot from this. I think we are pretty much at the close of our discussion for today, and I just want to give a huge thank you to our students, to Roshni, Johanna, Chun-Hoi, and Ollie for sharing so much of their experiences today. I think it's hugely helpful for students joining us, and we really hope that we will see many of you in September to take on these experiences. And we wish all of our students who have joined us today a huge good luck with their dissertation process, and we're really looking forward to hearing a little bit more about the projects that they've mentioned and to see where they go on to what they go on to do in the coming years as well. So thank you so much everyone for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you.